Today we're going to be talking about an interesting subject, no mind, no matter. And this is a continuation of, basically the ongoing series of waking up, of dealing with ego, that false sense of self. And I'm going to ask that Kelly throw a comment on once she's actually on the live feed so we know it's there. Just refresh your page. Okay, so we're going to start right from the top. No mind. Well, this is the problem, of course, is that we have a mind. And Jennifer's here. Hi, Jennifer. Good to see you. Jennifer, just like the rising sun. And my sweetie managed to find me too. That's good, since she's only sitting 20 feet away. So, of course, no mind. Well, that's the problem. We have a mind. And, everything is about mind. All of creation, that whole sea of consciousness, that we all exist within the mind of God, within the mind of creation itself. And our whole existence takes place inside of our mind. The macro, the grand scale, is reflected within the micro, the small scale. So I want to make sure everyone's clear about this, that all of creation, all matter, the entire universe, all of it is all an occurrence within the mind of God, within that sea of consciousness. And we in our existence are experiencing everything within our existence, within our own minds. Literally a reflection of that divine in the micro. And Teresa's here. Hi, Teresa. Nice to see you. I don't know whether you've been on one of our videos or not before, Teresa. Great to have you here, though. And Jennifer's here, too. Well, you guys know each other. You're all part of the group. So really, this is what everything comes down to. It really comes down to understanding that and really absorbing that. Everything is occurring within the mind. And this mind is both friend and enemy, although it's never really an enemy. That's just the way we like to label things, okay? So first we're going to review and deal with the egoic tendencies that keep coming up. And these start with the idea of me and mine. And it extends the dysfunction outwards from that point, i.e. my children, my wife, my husband. And even though we may not be always consciously aware of it, although a number are, at an unconscious level, we view that other person as a possession. We are attached to them. We have invested them with some of us in our minds. And that's when we put that me or mine or my label on people. And these same labels, it doesn't matter whether we're talking about people or objects, we apply those same labels and we behave in accordance with that label. That's my car. If you walk up and someone's taking a baseball bat to it, well, you're going to react to that. But in reality, does your reacting to it have anything to do with the situation? And of course the answer is no, it doesn't. But the drama, the sheer drama created by the false concept that something is yours, that you own it, causes so many of the problems we face. Well, thank you, Teresa. We do appreciate having you here. We certainly do. And if there's ever any questions you want to ask or something you'd like to see on a live video, please don't hesitate to ask. And Jennifer, I know you know this well. So this primary ego tendency is the tendency to identify everything that we feel we possess as mine. Or, this is my wife, these are my kids, this is my car, my house, my life. Fortunately, none of those things are true. None of them. You can't actually own anybody, and it doesn't matter what we happen to say about it, okay? The reality of our universe is that free will exists. And no matter what we may do to try and limit anything, we can never limit that conscious evolution. Hello, Linda. Nice to see you too. And Debbie's here. Ha ha. Look at that. The group's growing. Yeah, it's been another busy day, actually. I did get a tiny bit more sleep last night, which was great. We were out again working in the yard this morning and doing a bunch of other things, and then we vacuumed the house and gave it a nice mop, and, that set the cat off. And then had some lunch, and then we're doing this, and then we're off to some other things. But, this is the beauty of spring. Luckily, life lends us. Yeah. This is why I love doing the the YouTube ones where I can put the comments right on the screen, because, in replay, you don't get to see them right away. Linda says sometimes some people need a kick in their free will to get them to smarten up. Yeah, isn't that the truth? I told the story, when I was young, I was first told, well, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make him drink. And I understood that. But then someone had to ruin that on me, because they came back and said, yeah, but you can kick the legs out from under the horse and bury his head in the stream until he's forced to take a sip. And you never like having to do that to anybody. And out of compassion, sometimes I have done that to people. I really have. Although, figuratively speaking, of course. So the concept of me and mine leads to another egoic issue that we all struggle with. And, thankfully I gave up that struggle a long time ago. And that is the idea that whatever's happening is not supposed to be. We're not supposed to be here. You're not supposed to be here. That's not supposed to happen. That wasn't supposed to go wrong. In our egoic sense, in that false sense of self, what happens is we tend to make many Freudian slips in our thinking without even realizing it. And one of the largest ones is the idea that things are supposed to turn out the way you think. And there is a big difference between reality and what we choose to think about reality. Now that can seem really confusing at first, because you say, well, wait a minute, everything's inside my mind. And that is true, but we are in a shared mind reality. We are all contributing to this reality. And the moment you lose the ability to see a 360-degree sphere of realities and lend them just as much credence as you would your own, you're always going to be coming from that place of not supposed to in some way. And Veronica, hi Veronica, nice to see you too. Wow, we're getting a load of people today. That's just great. Slow afternoon at the office. So the other thing that we really have to work on is this concept that things are not supposed to be. And I am here to tell you today that after 3,284 years, I can say definitively, everything is supposed to be. And I had a really hard time with it too. Sitting there in a Buddhist monastery in Tibet, talking to one of the lamas one day, looking at the view of the Himalayas near sunset. This particular monastery had beautiful hot pools of the most therapeutic Himalayan mineral water you'd ever imagine, bubbling up from out of the ground. And we would go lounge in these pools in the evening and have long discussions. And I was getting upset. It's like, what do you mean everything is the way it's supposed to be? What about the children who are starving to death? What about the wars that are happening needlessly? What about the people who have to make decisions between food and heat? And the list goes on, and he just looked at me. And he said, here's the thing. We, as a human species, have the choice in our hands, and everything we do serves. Everything we do serves to show us what we wish and what we don't wish, what we desire to build and create, and what we do not wish to build and create. And we have to own both sides of that coin because we did it. You know, one of the things you'll hear anytime there's a natural disaster is, of course, well, why did God let that happen? God lets everything happen because it knows the truth of things, that no matter what happens, it is supposed to be. Debbie says, if you love having such deep conversations, more in life. Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm never in one for fluttering on the surface. It's really quite a boring place to be. I prefer to be in the depths, down where you get the larger picture of life. And some pretty strange things happen down here too. It's kind of fun, you know, instant manifestations, the whole 9 yards. So removing the concept that things are not supposed to be is a basic understanding. It is a basic faith that in this universal sea of consciousness, not one thing could possibly go wrong. And all as we have to do is to choose. We don't have to pay attention to what's gone wrong. We do own the responsibility of dealing with the remnants of it. But we don't pay it any more attention. We don't love any more, or we don't lend it any more conscious attention, any more energy. Linda says, I love deep conversations. I've been told by men and women that I have a deep mind. Yeah, you know, like a well. Such a deep subject. You know, the depth of conversation is where life is at. You know, we are deeply connective beings by nature, and the masks we wear and the false shallow connections and communication we make day to day don't really serve us at all. It's really all sleeping stuff. It has nothing to do with awakening, nothing to do with raising your consciousness, nothing to do with, you know, looking at the cosmic and universal truths of our existence and then choosing how to act from that space. So how do we come to a no-mind state? Yeah, Debbie says, I was always told I was too serious. That's a good thing. Yeah, you know, seriousness is a good thing, but don't be too serious. You'll notice I spend a fair bit of time having some pretty good laughs, and yet I can be deadly serious within that. You know, go ahead and flip-flop around. Have some fun. That's really what it's all about. So how do we start in coming to that mind state where there's no mind? In other words, where the mind is quiet, where the mind is minding itself. Mindlessness begins with the senses. This is one of the easiest pathways. I seem to be having major trout mumbles again today. My merds are getting mixed up. I don't seem to be able to proctocally. Major trout mumbles. I'm not sure. Mindlessness begins with the senses. And as I said, this is one of the easiest ways that you can engage no mind. And that is to absorb yourself completely in the sensory input without labeling. In the moment where you simply allow yourself to be and you are mindful, you are paying full attention to the input from your senses. And I'm going to let you in on a little secret. The human being is not actually capable of multitasking. That was a fallacy that started up back in the 80s, and well, we know you can laugh, Debbie. And you're going to be laughing a lot more now with a nice year sabbatical to boot. What was I saying? You threw me off course. Oh yeah, so the idea that we can actually multitask turned out to be a lie. It's a fallacy. Very few people can honestly multitask. It takes splitting the brain. Someone who plays piano, they can multitask in one tiny little area. Both hands can play independent of each other. I watch Kelly do that all the time. It's beautiful. I split my brain in a number of ways as well, but that's through long meditative practice. Mindlessness, beginning with the senses, this is the only thing that the human body truly multitasks on, the only thing that your mind truly multitasks on, and that is your sensory input. You can be simultaneously aware. Yeah, my question always is, what's a box? Linda says sometimes people can't understand my thinking, or they can't extend their ideas beyond their box. You know, you think outside the box. And yeah, my line for a long time has been, what's a box? You know, I don't have no clue, really. And it's not that people, aren't willing to look at new ideas, but we have to realize, and I've gone through this with Kelly and her family, that as our consciousness comes up, others aren't necessarily going to come up with us. And once we raise our consciousness up, we're literally living in a new universe. We've gone through another rabbit hole, and now we're standing in another version of reality. Communicating that version of reality to anyone who hasn't passed through that rabbit hole is really tough. Yeah, woman multitasking. Yeah, way more than a man, hey? Yeah, beer, couch, TV. Never in this house. We don't even own a TV. Beer, forget it. I'll take time with my wife, doing yoga or meditating or going for a walk or being outside together. I love being with Kelly. I really do. As a matter of fact, I love being with her so much that I really have no need to be anywhere else. I'm a complete being already, so I just live in the joy of being with her, and that's the best place to be. It really is. So with our senses, we can come to that state of no mind. We can absorb ourselves in our senses. We can use the senses as a pathway to quieting that mind state. And as I said in the previous couple of videos, if you haven't watched them, give them a watch. Because one of the best things you can also do is give up on caring what other people's opinion is about you. Stop having an opinion about what their opinion is or may be about you and your opinions. That's a lot of opinions. They're just that. Yeah, exactly. There's 7.5 billion different worlds right now. None of us view reality the same way. And this is both the gift and the confusion in many ways. And, Linda says that some people haven't changed and they don't want to evolve. And here's the good news, Linda. Evolution isn't a choice. It doesn't matter how many lifetimes. It really doesn't. Like I said, for myself, I have 3,284 years of conscious memories of all the different egoic me's that my higher self has manifested. And I can tell you, you can't stop evolution. You can fight it for 1 life, for 2 life, for 3 lives. But sooner or later, you succumb. And you give in to that marvelous flow of life. Slide number 2. And I love these little storyboards because it helps focus my mind, adds a little bit of color, and I get to frame myself. Like a picture. Yeah, it was, and it is, and again, if you haven't seen the video on faith and belief, give it a watch, because most people don't understand what faith is. Okay, faith, as Debbie says, is just trust. That's all it is. It's faith that that bridge is going to hold as you walk over it. Trust. Faith that there's a creator. Trust. There's nothing else you have to add to it. Nothing. And it can be the foundation for your moving forward in your existence. Debbie says, I think so differently to what I did even a year ago. And that's it. Change is wonderful. Yeah, and Linda, you're right. There's lots of people you run into, and boy, they're the same person they were at 16 years old, and here they are, 50, and they're still the same person. We know a few of them. But we can never understand the journey that they are on. We cannot understand the choices that they made, that their higher being made in manifesting them here for this particular path. And that's why I always say, let go of not supposed to. Except that if the person is staying that way for their whole lives, then obviously they're supposed to. That there's meaning there, that there's reason. Life rules. This is another way to start getting into the state of not minding and therefore not matter anymore. Because this is a big one. If you can mind this, most of the problems aren't going to matter anymore. So I'm going to give you a couple of life rules, and these are not all of the rules. And trust me, there's not a lot of rules to life. It's only the egoic self that would really make that complicated. So, life rules. Rule number 1, you are life. Life is not happening to you. Life is not something you've been imbued with. You are literally life itself, that sea of consciousness manifesting itself and living itself and creating life through the very process of its conscious existence. We do it in every moment of every day. What is going on up here determines the filters that life expresses through you. Try to become filterless. Life has a grand plan. You don't need to worry about it. You don't need to get in the way. And more times than not, that's exactly what we do is we get in the way. Rule number 2 of the life rules, okay? In your mind as is in your life. Now, this one can be a little tough for most people, but understand that if your mind is confused and if you're always fearful and you're always feeling guilt and living in those states, your life is going to reflect all of those things. Why? Because it is trying to drive you to the point where you go past them. And, let's look, yes, okay, Debbie says a good one here. Then I was taught it was all about certainty and conviction. Now I'm more into not knowing. Exactly, okay? And I know exactly where Debbie's coming from. Good old Church of England. Nice cathedrals, by the way. I prefer a different sort of church when I'm over there. Happens in London. Random locations every Sunday. Debbie may know what I'm talking about. So very much so, in our minds as is in our life. It's not the other way around. We may look at our life and think that our thinking, that our thoughts are a product of what's happening in our lives, but indeed we have to reverse that equation if we want things to turn around. What's in your mind is manifesting itself in your existence. Linda points out again how she seems to have thought differently than most in her age groups, and there's a lot of us who go through that. As we mature in consciousness, the new manifestation of the egoic self comes in with intending to awaken more and more and more, because evolution is always forward, it's never in reverse. So that is a natural thing. But again, we must always remember, I went through hundreds of lives of sleep. We all do. Everyone needs to be allowed their journey in their way. And as I say to Kelly all the time, trying to communicate higher truths to somebody who is not there consciously is next to impossible. Far be it that you instead simply be the example of what that higher consciousness represents. So in your mind, in your life, let's remember that we have to reverse the equation. When we say something appearing in the physical realm, it is a remnant of our past thoughts, words, and deeds. And we need to look at those thoughts, look at those words and deeds, and then simply make new choices. You see, we would make it really confusing when there's something going on in our lives that we want to change, that, you need this, and you got to wait forever, and all these things have to happen first before you're going to be happy. And indeed, all you really have to do is start choosing to be happy. The more you choose happiness, life will feed you happiness. The more you pay attention to seeking the divine within yourself, to finding your higher being and staying in constant contact with higher being, the more that your desires will be naturally filled by nature. The more you give of yourself in selflessness, the more you understand that we are here as one giant community, one whole, one being manifest in many parts. Thank you, Linda. We love having you here for these conversations. We really do. When we come into this place, we can understand that it is indeed how we are choosing to perceive. And what is perception? It's what our body is telling us about our thoughts. And again, I will point this out. This body has this amazing intelligence, and you know what it does? It has a built-in alarm system to tell you when you're straying off the easy path and into the rough path. And that system is called your feelings. And you can feel all sorts of feelings, both positive and negative, and we need to separate those from emotions, as we talked about many times. Emotions are not included in this group. We're talking about feelings. Feelings are a product of what we think. That's all they are. They're a reaction from our body, a communication to say, yes, you're in alignment with your higher self. You're in alignment with higher truth. You're in alignment with cosmic consciousness. You're in line with the universe right now. Abraham Hicks would say, you're in the vortex. Why? Because your body's telling you you're there. It's telling you, I'm feeling good. I'm happy. I'm overjoyed. I'm energetic. Just by, listen to what you're saying in your head. This is the most important thing that can fix all your problems at once, because this is where all the problems stem from. In reality, there are no problems. Just opportunities. We choose moment to moment. Always choosing. We can choose to think those higher thoughts. We can choose to live in that positive frame of mind. And when you do, the effects are immediate. Your body is your best friend in that regard. You see, your body can never lie, as we talked about. Your body exists in a state of permanent absolute truth. Why? Because it's being manifested by that higher self within it, not the higher self locked inside of it. But your body itself is manifested within the higher being that you are. Linda says, my body tells me it wants health. Focus on the good and the happiness and journey and awareness. Exactly. There's only one prayer I pray anymore, and that is gratitude for whatever is. I have come to the full understanding and acceptance that it is not Garen that's doing any of it. There's nothing I can consciously control about the things that I do. We'd all like to think so, but it's not true. Life is living through us. The divine is doing it all. We're along for the ride. We're not supposed to struggle. You're supposed to sit back in the canoe and enjoy the view and paddle wherever you want. And yeah, if you choose to fight the stream, things are going to get tough, but that's okay too. Because the stream's always waiting for you, and it's always heading in the right direction. You just have to choose to climb back in it again. This is another big one, okay? Fairness. There's a lot of people out there who egoically, because of the way they've been raised or where they are, they feel that life is not fair. And I put that, fairness. Are you nuts? Fair, unfair, right, wrong. We all know what those things are. And religion is most famous for them. For $100, do we have an answer? That's Monopoly money, by the way. Let's just be clear. They're all judgments. The idea that something is not fair is a judgment. The idea when we look upon what another has and say, well, it's not fair that they have this, it's not fair that they can do this and I can't, is a misconception of life. The gifts you have, the gifts that you are here to give the whole of humanity, have no equal anywhere on the planet. They're one of a kind. And that goes for each and every one of you watching, and it goes for each and every person who will watch it, and it goes towards the whole human race. Every gift that every single being here has to offer is unique and precious, and none of them are worth any more or any less than anyone else's gifts. You know, my neighbor stopped by this morning to deliver a monthly check for the strata maintenance and yard maintenance that we do here for the strata. And we take it on because we don't charge very much, and we have a vested interest in seeing the place kept up. And quite frankly, we're not happy with the other people's work. We do the work ourselves, and we put ourselves into the work. And when this other strata councilor member came down today to hand us the check, you know, he was talking about the person who's selling the property beside us and how, you know, he came from basically nothing and he flipped his first home and made money, and how now he's a millionaire and he's building subdivisions and on and on and on. And I looked at our friend and I said, you know, that's okay if that's how you choose to measure success. It's all right. And this comes into this whole fairness of life, okay? We need to make our own measure of success in alignment with our highest ideals, our highest being. And don't ever, ever, ever let yourself be kid into believing that the success as measured by society has any meaning at all, because it doesn't. Not even today, not even right now. You want to know how crazy it is? Take a look at our books. Do you find books written about the billionaire who started from nothing? And I mean, maybe he does his own autobiography, sure, or someone writes one for him. Who are the people we venerate? Who are the people we remember in history? Who are the people we talk about? We don't talk about the millionaires. We don't. We talk about the Gandhis. We talk about the Christs. We talk about the Mother Teresas. We talk about the people who show us what it really, really, really means to be a human being. Not a human doing. The doing happens all by itself. It's all in the state of being, and that all occurs right here. All of it. Gotta shave my head. Getting itchy. Now we come to the matter part. Yeah, and you can. By location, I mean, I gotta tell you, you know, your consciousness is the size of the entire universe. Okay, you're not limited in your body. And as I was speaking in the video yesterday, you know, I've learned to supersede myself a long time ago. I'm not limited here anymore. I can go anywhere. And to certain people in certain vibratory states and the right conditions, you can actually appear as a after image of yourself in what you hold as the way you look. Definitely. Now we come to matter, and matter, we're just gonna look at matter for a minute and remind everybody, if you haven't seen the video on time, duality, relativity, and the absolute, that turned out to be a really, really good video. A lot of people really enjoyed it. It also goes a long way to helping you understand the differences between time and energy and matter and relativity and duality, and of course the absolute, that sea of consciousness, okay? What is matter? Matter is energy, and energy responds to mind, and it is the only thing it responds to. It responds to consciousness. And we know this to a point now where physicists who are conducting experiments cannot be told when the experiment is going to take place. Nobody can. They have a computer select a random time for the experiment to run, and the experiment is ran autonomously. Because we understand now that even the thoughts of the physicist lying there in bed, knowing his experiment is being ran, can have an effect on the experiment. We see this at the tiniest particle level. And we fail to understand that that's exactly the same thing that's happening at this physical macro level as compared to that particle level, which would be the micro. And because of the difference in size, thankfully, the universe has a built-in safety switch, and that's called time. And that time is there so you can really make sure you really, really, really want what you think you want before you manifest it. And we've seen time and time again, of course, that we manifest things that we push, right? We know it's not coming, and we make it come. And the universe shrugs and says, fine, it's not going to, hey, I'm warning you. And we get what we ask for. Do you ever notice how many times when you get what you ask for, it turns out to be the worst thing you could imagine? Or if not the worst thing, it certainly wasn't whatever it is you thought it would be. I found that many times. I gave up asking. I did. I decided it was better to allow the universe to simply respond to my mind. And in my mind, Kelly will tell you, I'm all about sitting back, relaxing, and letting life guide me. Life will show me what I need to do. Life will put the people in front of me I need to help. Life will bring into my awareness that which I am supposed to give of myself. I don't have to struggle with it. Yeah, the earth, our mind, our universe are amazingly intelligent. It's true. It really is. It really is. And we are totally flexible in our minds. We're understanding now. We used to believe that genetics, that, the mind basically stopped when it was about 20 and there was no more growth. And there is, oh, yes, totally a free spirit. As a matter of fact, I don't spend a lot of time on this planet anymore, to be honest with you. I really don't. And we're going to talk more about that on Sunday. This mind we have is amazingly flexible. As I said, a short period of time ago, historically, 30, 40 years, we used to think that the mind basically was, set by 20, and then all it did is start to die slowly after that. And now we know that right up into the 80s and 90s, you can still affect real change within the mind. Now, I need to be clear. We need to separate the mind from the brain. And the separation isn't real. The only point is this. Your brain does not manifest your mind. Your mind manifests your brain. What is going on with you consciously determines this manifestation. And what you can do with this manifestation. And how you can heal it. And don't beat yourself up if you're in a state where you can't heal it. It may be that healing is not in the cards, that healing will not serve. And keep in mind, as I said before, there are many, many other factors that come into dealing with this body. Okay, obviously, we are insane as a species. Look what we do to put the temple that we have here under risk. And we do it all the time. Veronica, I find it hard I find it sometimes difficult to halt my overactive mind. I should like to planet hop. Yeah, and planet hopping is fun, and the only way to get there is to start by calming the mind. And I know, okay, it seems like, oh, great, like that's a great cycle, hey, kind of a catch-22. But it's not. First, you give up your concepts of fairness. Give up the idea that you are not life. Give up the idea that things are happening to you instead of happening through you. Slowly, over time, pay attention to what's in that mind and guide your thoughts. Even if your mind is full, if your mind is full of positive thoughts, your life, your reality will begin to shift based on that alone. It really will. Another big thing that we have to deal with if we're going to take back control over matter and the energy that matter is and start manifesting the life that we desire, and we need to be really, really, really careful about that. When I say what we desire, I'm always talking about the higher being. Because egoic desires and ego itself are very confused as to what it really wants. You see, ego's only looking for a feeling. And that's where we get so messed up, and I need to make this perfectly clear. No person, no place, no thing you can ever buy. Quit scrabbling for all of that. What you're looking for is the feeling. You're looking for a feeling. And you can manifest that feeling yourself without spending a damn cent. Without you're selling yourself out to someone, giving them control of you in some way in order for them to somehow make you happy. Forget it. You can do it yourself. Right here, right now, because the ego never, ever, ever is looking for a thing. It appears to be. And in the sleeping population, in the sleeping masses, people go out getting things, looking for things, objects, people, whatever. To do what? To produce a feeling that you can produce in your own mind right now. People often said to me, how is it you can live in solitude for so long? I spent 3 months and 7 days without seeing a single human being, and it was one of the most amazing times of my life. I lived in a little one-man monastery on high up in the Himalayas at about 14,000 feet, and my company were condors and eagles and other large raptors, and a view that consistently blew my mind, but I was not present with anyone. And the ultimate state of being is understanding that it is all in your mind. All of it. You want to be Jesus Christ tomorrow? You want to be a master tomorrow? Follow this. And you're there. What's the problem? Well, it's a little easier said than done sometimes, isn't it? Twice I have stepped into the other side, right? I died twice in this world now. And I also have full memories of all the other deaths and rebirths. And I am no different than any of you. I have a gift to offer, and the gift is to speak my truth in total transparency to you. Whether I'm laughing or crying or sad or tired or looking shaved or unshaved, you get Garen in the raw all the time. And what I want to do to be for you is simply to be an example. To show you that most of the things that you think are going wrong with your life are actually going very right with your life, and you just have to wake up to them and take back that control, the only control that you truly have in this existence, and that is to decide what you're going to mind about it. Your thoughts and perceptions are building your entire existence around you. All of it. Right now, as we talk. And Linda, much blessings to you. I appreciate the compliment. I do. Thank you. It is more for me that I serve. It really is. And again, I am not on a pulpit. I don't ask you to buy these things as on faith. I ask you to take them into your heart, contemplate them, see what resonates for you, and absorb and make your own truth. You do not need another person to follow. You are that spiritual, powerful being. And what you need is you to follow you. And I just want to help make that happen. I really do. Impermanence. This is a big thing about matter that people have a real problem with. Why are things impermanent? Just like the dryness in my mouth, it's impermanent right now, but this coffee will remedy that. Things are material objects are impermanent because they're made up of energy, and energy is affected upon by consciousness. Let me give you an example. You build a new deck. You come up with a thought for the deck. You talk to your wife or your husband about the deck. You go out and you make the necessary material buys and whatever, and you get to work and you build a deck. Seems like there's all these processes in there, but you know what? It all came out of mind. All of it. The building of the deck really happened all by itself. Indeed, God built your deck. I know it seems like you did, but like I said, you can't even wash the dishes. Try it. Try to consciously wash the dishes. Very quickly, you're going to find that your body is washing the dishes by itself. And when you're building the deck, it's not you who's trying to convince your hand of all the processes that it needs to go through in order to pick up the drill and the screw and put the screw in the right spot and drill it in and all these other things. All that coordination, all these things are happening quite independent of your conscious thoughts. So you build this desk, a deck, and now you simply stop paying it attention. You never go out to look at that deck again. What happens? The deck begins to rot. The deck begins to fall apart. The energy that has been temporarily frozen into having appearance of solid material, i.e. the deck, is beginning to fall into a state of dissolution again. And over time, we call that effect entropy. Over time, without any attention, without any consciousness placed into that deck, it will simply cease to be. And we live in a beautiful, brilliant, recyclable universe, and everything is recycled, just like us. We're all recycled beings. All of us. Consciousness-wise, and even in this physical realm, as far as physicality goes, we are recycled stardust. We are the leftover material. We are the carbon embers of burnt-out stars. It's glorious, actually. And through that, all of creation is consciously watching itself, is consciously growing and evolving itself and gazing upon itself and learning about itself. And it does through each of us here and each being on every planet in every galaxy across the entire universe. And there are tens upon tens upon tens of thousands of them. Impermanence. Everything's impermanent. If we want something to stick around, we have to keep our attention on it. And this is why I say, if you're in a relationship right now and you know the relationship isn't working, you don't have to struggle about how to get out of the relationship. Stop paying the relationship attention. Begin to put attention into where you want to go in your existence. Now, this does not mean responsibility that we have in the current situation we created either. You have to take that into mind. Understanding that everything is impermanent in the realm of Maya, in this illusion. You know, I remember when I first met Kelly, she's like, oh, you know, I get the best ham and it's 99 cents 100 grams. And I said, well, it is now, but that's going to disappear. And then it was, you know, we get about $1,000 worth of groceries for free every year using our cards and the programs and the loyalty programs and the like. And I said to Kelly, yeah, but that's going to change too. And, you know, we've watched all those things be reduced. And rather than getting upset about it, Kelly now says, you were right. It's impermanent. It's bound to change. And we tend to only look at that on one side of the coin, and we look at when things are good and they turn into bad, and we think, that sucked. Always remember, it's impermanent. May look bad today, it's going to look better again tomorrow. The last and final part of this is when we come to that state of no mind, no matter, okay? And it all begins with these few simple steps. And I think we've talked about these before. Open acceptance of what is. You see, if we've thought about it, if we've spoken about it, and we've produced it, if it already exists in material form, it is really sheer lunacy not to accept it, because it is indeed manifest. It's right here, right now. It's right here in front of us. We have to accept that it exists. We don't have to accept it into our personal field or our personal sphere of being. We don't have to keep it there. We can stop paying it attention. We can honor that creation and be responsible for it and let it go. Acceptance does not mean staying in a situation that you do not want to be in. Acceptance means objectively understanding the truth of what is right now and not railing up against it, but simply using that to make new choices, because that's really what it's all about. Surrender, the same thing goes with surrender. You know, in every moment, in every way, surrender to that higher being within you. You know, the odd time my ego says, well, that doesn't look good, I surrender that. I do. I say, you know what, I'm gonna sure, I may have that opinion, but that's my opinion. That's an egoic opinion. I can't maybe see what the universe is up to right now, so I'm going to surrender it. It's not up to me anyway. I'm going to take the pressure off. In acceptance and in surrender, 50% of that's going to disappear. 50% of the noise going on up here will simply evaporate. Why? Because you're not railing against it all the time. You're not complaining to yourself in your own head. You're not judging over and over and over again. The last and final method here to come to that state of no mind, no matter, is a transparent existence. Yeah, I have nothing to hide from anybody. Everyone gets the plain, unvarnished Garen all the time. I don't have to remember what mask I'm wearing for who. I don't have to think about what lie I've ever told. I live in a state of total and complete authenticity and truth with my own being at all times. Why? Because it's easy once you get used to it. And in that state of being, all your personal power will come flooding back to you. You see, when you're transparent, you cannot have fear or guilt in your being. That would cloud you. In fear, we hide things, and in guilt, we hide things. Letting go of fear and guilt, letting go of the past and the future, and simply allowing yourself to be present as you are, without apology, but with responsibility. You can be transparent, and in that transparency, as I said, your full power returns to you. I think that's where we're going to wrap it up for today. Much love, namaste to you all. I do hope that this little video, and I guess it's not that little, it ran about 55 minutes. But Garen doesn't like to talk. We hope you have all a fantastic Thursday, and look forward to seeing everyone on the weekend. And if I can fit in another live before Sunday, I certainly will. And, you know, we all help each other, Linda. And namaste to you as well, Jennifer. You know, we really do teach what we need to learn, you know. And in the act of speaking about it, and in the act of of putting these videos out, I am constantly reminded, constantly brought back to that center point again, and I love it. And thank you, and namaste to you as well, Veronica. May you all have a wonderful, wonderful day. Kelly and I love you all so much, our brothers and sisters out there, and we will see you again soon. Take care.